Hello, Lisa. Welcome. Hi. You can show your video by pressing Start Video along the bottom. And then, hi, I can hear you. Hi. Great, you're on. You've done it. Have you done this before?
I have participated in one Zoom, but it was more of an interview, a one-way discussion versus a panel.
Yeah. And where are you calling in from?
I'm with Stella Circle in St. John's, Newfoundland.
Great. Wonderful. Cool.
Down a bit there, yeah.
So what's the weather like there at the moment?
It's absolutely gorgeous. We've had a gorgeous week, and it's sunny, blue sky, and it's a little cooler today, but it's about 12 or 13 degrees. Yeah. So yeah, it's lovely. Winter's supposed to come on Thursday.
Is it?
So we'll see.
Right. So you said you were from Newfoundland?
Yeah.
Where?
St. John's.
St. John's, okay. Yeah.
And where are you?
I'm in Calgary.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've had some really lovely days this fall, but it's starting to get a little cool now.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, that's okay. Once you get acclimatized to it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm looking forward to learning about Stella's Circle. One of the interesting things about hosting these calls is I know I know nothing about the projects that are coming on and being shared. So it's a new learning for me as well. So it's very exciting. I enjoy that.
Yeah, we have lots to talk about in the area of social enterprise. So I'm so happy to be included.
Yeah. So what's your connection with the United Church of Canada?
We're a social ministry of the United Church.
Okay.
Yeah.
And specifically the Newfoundland, like St. John's or the Presbytery or?
I guess nationally, I think I'm not sure how so we would have received accreditation, gone through accreditation process nationally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me about that? Because I don't know anything about that.
Well, I wasn't here when it happened, but it was a few years ago now, and so there was accreditation process that, and you had to show certain things or that you did things a certain way, and so we received our accreditation. So we've been a social justice ministry of the United Church, God, I think since we started, really, about 30 years ago.
Okay. So there's certain projects that are considered social justice ministries?
No, certain organizations.
Certain organizations, okay. And
they are all across the country. We are one of the larger ones, but they are across the country.
Okay. And so they're kind of organizations that have grown up kind of affiliated and in the midst of the United Church, and then they get kind of recognized as such.
That's exactly right, and we get some funding from the United Church as well.
Okay. But you also get funding from all kinds of other sources, probably.
Yes. Yeah. Wherever we can get it.
Yeah. Are you a good grant writer?
We've been pretty successful.
That's great.
Yeah, we have a number of people who are good at it, so that helps.
Yeah. No, it takes a special kind of person and takes a special kind of context to support that activity, I think.
Yes, and it's good to believe in the work that you do. That's really important, and I think that comes out.
Yeah, in the grant writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. Cool. So I work with New Scoop YYC, which is a digital media platform in Calgary.
Okay, yeah.
And so we do a form of journalism called generative journalism. So it's yeah. You sound like that.
No.
Oh
no, it sounds very exciting.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So we do. It's based on appreciative inquiry. Don't know if that means
Okay.
you appreciative inquiry and asset-based community development.
Okay. Yeah.
It was from the work of John McKnight. So it's a model of journalism that's based on the premise that you get what you pay attention to. So if we want more citizen-driven, community-friendly, sustainable things that connect us, whatever, we tell those stories. So that's the work that we've been doing in Calgary, and I'm a member of the Hillhurst United Church in Calgary. So through our connection with Edge funded us with some story work we did around Indigenous and interfaith pieces.
Yeah.
And so then we discovered this Zoom platform and thought it would be really cool way to kind of leverage and nurture and pay attention to what God's doing in the church across Canada. So that's what we're experimenting with. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've seen John McKnight talk, actually.
Have you? Yes.
Yeah, he was here a number of years ago.
Yeah. I hold him responsible for a lot of things. Mainly that my background is as a psychologist, but after falling under his influence, I found it really hard to bring my interest and gifts in that model. I didn't want to interact with people as clients. I wanted to interact with them as citizens.
Right. Yeah.
And, so anyway, that's been the story ever since.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I have to ask, I can't just wait till the call starts, but I don't know anything about Stella Circle, so maybe you can give me like 2 seconds and then we'll hear the fuller version later.
Yeah, well, it's a community not-for-profit organization, and we have really 3 main lines of business: housing, counseling, and employment services.
Right. Okay. So what do you do in the housing realm?
A number of things. We operate an emergency shelter for young women. We also have 78 units of housing throughout the city, and we have a housing resource center, and we have a specific housing program which is targeted towards people who are chronically and episodically homeless.
Wow. Cool. So I'm sure you know lots then about what works and what doesn't work. And
well, I rely on everybody else to tell me that, I think.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you so much, Lisa and Adam and Peter, for joining us for this conversation today. And as I've been explaining, as I've been kind of meeting you online, and as we've been beginning this process, I'm in the interesting role of inviting people into a dialogue when I know very little about the projects that you're working on. So it means that I get to come full of curiosity and good questions and perhaps stupid questions and let it unfold the way that it does. So thank you so much for being here and being part of this today. Adam, perhaps we could start with you. And if you could share kind of your name and where you're calling from and the project that you're working on, and perhaps its affiliation with the United Church.
Sure. So my name is Adam Zweig, and calling from Toronto, where our organization is based. And our organization is called Building Up. And essentially the idea is using trades contracts in the city. Primarily, we've worked with a lot of social housing in Toronto to connect the work that needs to get done in social housing with folks from those communities that really need the work. And our goal is to take folks with quote unquote barriers to employment, get them into our program and transition them into the labor force and connect them to career opportunities within the unions in Toronto. And since then, actually, unique timing with the United Church, because there's such a vast network of churches that need work to get done. Most recently, we are actually taking on a project to change LED lighting in a church in Toronto. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but these are the types of contracts that we use to help folks within those communities, link them to full-time employment.
Okay, great. Thank you. Lisa, perhaps you could introduce your project and what you're working on.
Yeah, I'm the CEO of Stella Circle, which is a community not-for-profit, and we have about 125 staff, and we have really 3 main lines of business. We offer housing services, counseling services, and employment services. So within that, and I should say our participants are mostly adults. We do have one youth-oriented program, but mostly adults who have many barriers from fully participating in their community. And these barriers could be mental health issues, addictions, criminal justice involvement, trauma, homelessness, poverty, and long periods of unemployment. So in terms of our relationship with the United Church, we are a social ministry of the United Church. And we're named for Stella Burry, who was a United Church deaconess and social worker. And so I mentioned that one of our offerings is employment services. So within that, we offer everything from adult basic education to various employment programs, and we use social enterprise as a way to train people in various areas. So we have a restaurant for the past 10 years, the Hungry Heart Café, which we use, restaurant and catering business, I should say, and we use that for to provide food services training to people. And we also just recently started a commercial cleaning business called Clean Start. And we have a couple of other, we would say micro, I guess, social enterprises. One making rags or repurposing linens to make rags. And another one which is a Can Do program, which is a transitionary program to provide short-term jobs to people.
When you said making, I thought you said making bread, but it was
no,
making rags?
We leave that to our baker at the restaurant.
Yes, that's great. And what was the name of the restaurant again?
The Hungry Heart Cafe.
The Hungry Heart Cafe. Cool. Great, thank you. And Marlene, I see that you've joined us this morning. How are you? Are you finding your way into the technology? There should be, yeah, you can unmute yourself there if you want. And if you'd like to show us your picture, you could click Start Video at the bottom of your screen. So there's all little icons along the bottom of the screen that you can press. Okay. All right. So she says, I don't have a video cam. Just wanted to listen in. Okay. Thank you. Welcome. If you have any comments to make, please, you're welcome to speak if you have audio. And if not, you can just chat to ask questions or to kind of join in. Perhaps you could send us a note and just tell us where you're from and what brings you to this call. If you wouldn't mind just chatting a brief introduction to yourself, that would probably be, we would enjoy knowing that about you. Great. Okay. Peter, welcome. How are you this morning?
Wonderful.
Good. Perhaps you can talk to us about what you're doing around the whole area of social enterprise. And yes, I'll invite you to make an introduction of yourself.
All right. I'm a social innovator and social enterprise coach running a, excuse me, a community innovation hub at St. Andrew's United Church in Markham. And that's where we're using unused and underutilized space for small businesses, social enterprises, nonprofits and charities, and that space is provided for free together with a coaching and workshops and roundtable discussions. And they also, the hubsters, we have 18 hubsters, and they get access to an e-learning platform and to a social mentor network. And so in order to support that, Carla from Edge and I wrote a book on the give back economy. And it's just being issued on Amazon and Indigo and Self Counsel Press for about $20. And it's kind of a how-to book, how to set up and run a social enterprise or to use corporate social responsibility if it's a medium to large size business. What's unique about what we're doing is we have set up a give back fund within the United Church Foundation to scale this model of a community innovation hub across Canada in mosques, synagogues, temples, parishes, and churches. Our objective in the next 5 years is to set up 300 community innovation hubs and connect the hubs and the hubsters in those various spiritual facilities. Two other quick things. One, I'm also involved with raising the roof on a joint project on housing to train youth, unemployed youth, skills in doing renovations on old houses and houses that are not being used, to renovate them and make them housing for youth. A second one is with a First Nation Indian chief in the Yukon who was in construction. And his thing outside of Vancouver is 3D printing of houses in 24 hours at a cost of $10,000. And our objective is to do that pilot and then take that pilot and scale it throughout the Indigenous community across Canada. That's enough for now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. So Adam, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about, share with us some stories of individuals that have come through the program that you're doing, which the name I'm getting not right here. What it was called?
Building Up.
Building Up. I knew it was up something. Building Up. And if you perhaps could share some stories of how that has played out in the lives of individuals.
Yeah, so I think there are quite a few social enterprises or nonprofits that deal with very specific, targeted demographics in Toronto, whether it's just youth or adults. We very much have a broader criteria. We really just say barriers to employment, and that's anybody that has their grade 10 math. So that's sort of, we have some internal requirements that are going to determine their success in their career paths that are where we take them. And then ultimately we have just a cap at there is no really age cap. So we say barriers to employment. I think similar to Lisa, you're dealing with folks that have either been through the criminal justice system, possibly they're new immigrants to Canada, with skills and no opportunity, not a lot of opportunity here. It could simply be economic barriers. So we have unfortunately in Toronto, the demand is huge for folks that want to work with these barriers. When we run, let's say every 4 months in our core program, we take on 8 folks. Now in our info session, we have about 200 people that are showing up, eager to work. So you can see right away how challenging that is to get it from 200 to 8 that are going to get into our program and then, after 4 months be on a successful career path. we have actually, there's probably videos even at the bottom of my email signature, which I'd be happy to share with you guys, that go into detail about some of these individual stories. Each one of them is, incredibly powerful, and everyone has their own personal history as to how they got here. And I guess, like, for us, it's probably the most difficult. We have about a 2-week process where we determine the folks that come into our program and then actually get in. And there's 6 on the management team that go through this process together. And I could say it's probably one of the most challenging 2 weeks that I ever experienced. And we do it every 4 months. But one of the things that we've started to do is, just based on the demand of not only the folks that come in, but also the demand of our customers, we really opened up the amount of work we're taking on. So we have our core program that takes on 8 folks with different stories and different backgrounds. And then we have a ton of other contracts that we take on that allow us to either take on just simply more folks and use this as sort of part of our getting to know them process. So we take in a lot of folks that, we have 200 people that show up. We might get 8 into our core, and then take on another, let's say 10, to do other projects within social housing where we really get to see their work ethic, their eagerness, and that can either filter into our program. So if we meet folks that come in, they do other work for us, and we think they're great candidates for our core program, they'll get in there, or we'll directly link them up to a union opportunity once we get to know them, and we can put our name and stand behind them. So that's sort of the main. So,
Adam, I just want to kind of make the connect again between the work with Building Up and the United Church. So did you come into connection with the United Church because you're starting to do projects, kind of renovation and retrofitting projects for the United Church of Canada?
Yeah, so there's twofold there. One is we're always looking to make connections with folks that have a similar mission to us. And we've seen, when I met Carla, just their devotion to community development and to getting people involved in projects was, I think, just how the conversation started. But, for us to grow, it's sort of it's the interesting enterprise piece to our business, is that we need work in order to employ people. And just given the infrastructure that United Church has, there was a perfect opportunity to say, not only are you guys connected to folks that really do need work, that are from these communities, but you actually have work that you're contracting out anyway, either to private contractors or to yourselves, for those folks in the community. So it was a pretty easy, and quick bridge for us. And I know that already the conversations have started to build some momentum, because we are doing this project where we're changing LED lighting. And these are the types of projects that not only does the United Church actually get the benefits, let's say in utility savings and building up their communities, but we can use folks directly from these communities and just watch their journey and where they'll get to in years to come.
Great. Good. Thank you very much, Adam. So Kenneth, I'm glad to welcome you to the call. If you would like to join in through sharing your video, we would love to see your face. So you can see along the bottom of the screen, there's a place that says Start Video. So we'd invite you to join, and also invite you, maybe if you'd be willing to make an introduction and share who you are and what brings you on this call today, that would be good too. Hello, Kenneth, can you hear me? Okay. If communicating through your machine isn't working very well, you can always type a message in the chat function. So we'd love to know who you are and where you're calling from. So feel free to join us that way as well. Thanks. Lisa, hi. We began talking before the call started, and I'm looking forward to chatting some more now. So this is just so many different moving parts to the project that you're doing, and they look like they all interrelate and leverage and support kind of the work of all the different parts. So that's very exciting. I wonder if you could kind of share, kind of at the moment, what's top of mind for you in terms of something that you're really thrilled about that's happened, something that's like very exciting and feels like, yes, this is what Stella Circle is all about.
Okay. Well, a couple things come to mind, I guess. One thing is Clean Start, which is our commercial cleaning business, was just launched a year ago in June. And it's really doing quite well. You know, it's a great model. So we hire staff members who work with participants. They go on job sites and they receive training to get them to the point when they can work independently at a job, and then even ideally move away from Stella Circle and get jobs elsewhere. So it's really been really well received, and I'm particularly excited about the receptiveness of the private sector because I knew that our community partners would certainly support us, but the number of private corporations who have said, I want to hire you because, first of all, we do a really good job, and I think that's a really important point to make, is that you do have to deliver on what you're providing, right? It's a business, but also they actually really love getting to know our participants, and they're really supportive of them, and they've really been enjoying getting to know them, and it's been lovely to see that, and to see that somebody might start working with one of our staff members for 2 hours a week, but is now up to doing 15 hours independently. So yeah, it's very exciting.
So what kinds of jobs are these folks doing?
Well, it's all cleaning in commercial areas. So it could be churches, other community groups, private businesses, and cleaning everything. We do stairwells in condo buildings to office buildings, bathrooms. Sorry, fire truck. I never knew how busy the fire department was till I got my office here. So that's the sort of things that we do. And what I like about Clean Start is seeing the impact. So we employed 68 people last year in our first year, but also it evolved. So we have, I mentioned Can Do, which is a transitional temporary employment, so you can call us up and say, I got this job to be done. Do you have somebody? And Clean Start evolved because so many people were asking for cleaning services. So it was almost as if Can Do was an incubator to see what was it that the marketplace wanted, and we were able to respond to what the marketplace wanted.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you. And what do you see on the horizon for Stella Circle as you kind of look, kind of a couple of years down the road? Are there projects or possibilities or things that you're exploring further?
Yeah, so we have a funding proposal in right now, actually, to do with our cafe. So we focus a lot on employment. And whenever we focus on employment, there always is a social enterprise lens, I think. So our cafe right now is for in-house dining and catering. And what we're hoping to do, if we get the funding, is to add another component to that, which is, and our cafe is all about fresh local ingredients. And so to add another training component is to employ people to learn how to make meals that we will freeze and family style or family amount and sell it to the marketplace. And for every meal that's bought, family style meal that's bought, then we will provide, that you will also be providing a meal to one of our participants. So you purchase a meal, but also what we're going to do is provide that same meal to a participant. So trying to work in the employment skills and then enhancing another product line from the Hungry Heart Cafe.
As well as the kind of opportunity to as well. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. So we have some more folks. Someone else has joined us by phone. So welcome, and feel free to, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you're welcome to do that. I'm not sure if you would like to or not, the person who's joined us by phone. Okay. You're welcome to also type, probably you don't, if you're on the phone, you may not have the capacity to type something, but we're glad you're here, and we would like this call to be as interactive as possible, so we're welcoming people to chime in with questions or reflections on what they're hearing. So feel free to jump in with that. Peter, let's come back to you, and I'm going to invite you to tilt your screen down just a little bit more so that we can see your whole face. I know, but we want to be able to see you. So welcome. I wonder if you could share some of the hubsters that you are getting to know in the enterprise hub that you're offering in Markham, and some of the projects that they're up to.
Okay, the hubsters are a broad range, everything from green products that are healthy and help the environment, that kind of thing, to I've got 3 involved in the incarceration area. One is a lady who had 6 kids, was on her way up the corporate ladder, and the police came in and arrested her husband, put him in jail for 7 years, and he served 4 years, and she had to deal with all the issues around that situation. I started an organization to help families of incarcerated persons. Another one does youth who are incarcerated. It's called, I got to be careful with the pronunciation, Shift Happens. Shift, underline. And they do workshops and programming for incarcerated youth. And so it's a very broad range of things that these folks are involved in. For example, I've got a Mary Kay sales rep, and I never would have figured that she'd be a candidate for the hub, but she does free makeups for women who have cancer in our local hospital, and it makes them really feel good. She does that in shelters. She does it for immigrants and refugees as part of what she does. She has also done free makeups for some of our other hubsters, and then interviewed them, put them on her Facebook, and the message goes out to all of her network about what our other hubsters are doing. And that's pretty cool. The big element that's happening right now, obviously, is the book, the give back economy, a whopping $20. And it's getting out through Amazon and Indigo and Self-Counsel Press. So it was a heck of an experience with Carla and I doing the writing, to work with an editor, and then we got a publicist. We didn't know what a publicist was. And she's going out to all the media with our story.
So I'm curious about the connection of the hub with the church. So is the church still a functioning place of worship and community, or is it being totally repurposed for social enterprise activities, or what's the relationship there?
Okay. United Church, this particular church has a 35-year-old minister, female minister, first one they've ever had, who will go out to the pub and have a pint with you. So she's very creative, very innovative, very supportive of what we're doing. And she wants to meet and interact with all the hubsters. And so that's pretty cool that she's willing to be involved. But I do have a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks in a mosque, and I'll be going into the mosque to find out what unused or underutilized space they have. And I have about 6 United Churches that are interested in developing the concept. So what we're looking to do is develop social enterprises within the church, run by church members, and then another group that would be the hubsters in the hub. So in sum, what we're advocating for almost is that the spiritual institution is the community innovation hub. And the ministry is a part of the services provided by that community innovation hub. And Adam, you should be doing a ton of work across the country to repair spiritual institutions and all kinds of jobs. So, we'll give you till Monday to go national.
Right.
That's okay with you.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Lisa, something that you might kind of consider. We do a social innovation challenge, Carla and I, for social innovators. And the first winner of our first one was the raw carrot.
Oh, wow.
And the raw carrot is at the Paris Presbyterian Church. And it's people that are disabled who could not get a job. And they prepare 6 soups and breadsticks. And they have just landed their first social franchise at another church.
Wow.
So they sell it to retailers as well as to people in the community. So it's the raw carrot, and I can put you in touch with Colleen, and
Thank you.
You could run that one as well. I mean, sounds like you're running a social enterprise hub yourself.
Yeah. That's a really good point, I think, actually, because I would say that our organization exists across the board with a social enterprise philosophy and mentality. So we have 78 units of housing throughout the city. And, there's always, if we have, in the cases of our congregate living, we have one of our participants who's living in the building is hired as a caretaker. So whenever we can work employment into our programs and services, it's really critical to do that, I think.
Well, a little more quick background on me. I'm a former banker, former professor in entrepreneurship and marketing and nonprofit leadership. I taught MBA students. I started 6 of my own businesses. I have worked with unemployed who wanted to start a business at 3 locations over about 12 years. And so over the years, I've worked with over 720 startups and over 2,000 business plans.
Wow.
So 3 years ago, I retired, took a day off and got bored. And I got into social innovation and social enterprise. I've coached probably 30 social enterprises in how to build their organization, build their team, develop their business plan, and get rid of Miller, who keeps bugging them.
So I'm wondering if there's any other kind of questions from the folks that are listening on the call. Feel free to let us know if you have questions or comments or things that are resonating with you. I'm not sure if you're having trouble talking.
I have a quick question for Lisa. Do you guys mostly employ people full time? Is that the goal? Or like you said before, depending on, I guess, their situation and their background, it's like up to a certain amount of hours, like depending on their capacity. How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, it varies. So at the Hungry Heart Cafe, for example, we would have some full-time, some participants working full-time, like in a server role or dishwasher in the kitchen. Others are going through our social enterprise training, so they're only there for a few hours at a time. And Clean Start is, it's doing so well that we could probably keep people for full-time hours if they were able to do that. Yeah.
Cool.
So it does vary. We try to be flexible to adapt to what works for the participant.
Right. So it's not it's not necessarily like transitional employment. You actually can keep some of these folks on quite long term, presumably, right? Like, is that?
Yeah, that is true. In some ways it's not ideal because you do want people to transition out, but in some cases, if it works and leaving wouldn't work, then we will, and the employment is working on both sides, then that's okay too.
That's awesome.
So Adam, the people that come through your program, there is primarily a transitional program where they move on and into kind of a more regular stream?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, we'll say transition, and why we say union jobs is we've got some really great relationships with them, but ultimately what we're saying is our business is 3 years old, we're growing, we're working, but it's not the same security that the carpenters union can provide benefits and growth that we can't provide for our participants or our employers. So, we do our best to give these guys full-time work for while they're with us, but the goal is that, to break the poverty barrier, which is really, you're looking at like a long-term career path with real growth where you can make, more money than what we can afford to pay these guys after a long period of time. So that's, it's not like they have to go unionized or any companies like that, but what we want to do is transition them from potentially working minimum wage hours or underutilizing their skills to a place that they see themselves stable and can grow in long-term employment. Yeah. And it's not to say we won't get to a point, like we've had people that are so sort of loyal to our company, and we do have some like supervisor positions with growth. So we do, but that's just minimal. We have minimal capacity for that. And that hopefully will grow with our growth, and we will be able to take on people for more long-term. But at the moment, it's sort of like this 4 to 6 month capacity. And then we, at that point, they're ready to transition for a future career. Yeah.
Right. And are you getting any government funding for this project?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're a big proponent of the enterprise piece, so we try to keep it in that 80-20, like 20% funding and 80% of the enterprise. It doesn't always work so favorably, especially like the more we want to offer. So we have basically in our core program, it's 4 months. Half the time the guys are actually out in the field doing work, so they're actually generating revenue for our business, and the other half the time they're actually getting paid to sit in math class and to go to the different unions and to get some other essential skills that we provide them. And simply you just can't afford to be competitive in the private sector on price for certain things if we're paying them while they're not generating revenue. So ultimately we do have to have funding or we wouldn't be able to function. I think we sometimes go back and forth with that revenue ratio as to what should come from funding, what should come from the enterprise, but our goal has always been the same. And so it's however we, some years it's different than others, but.
Right. Yeah. So I'd like to open it up amongst our presenters today. If you have any questions or things that are resonating or things you'd like to follow up with one another, please feel free to do that.
Okay, I put a couple of things in the chat area. One, Lisa, you may want to look at hungryharvest.net. I don't know whether you've heard of them before.
No, I haven't, but I certainly will. Yeah.
They pitched on Shark Tank.
Oh.
And the whole concept is they go to farmers in the area and get slightly bruised food or vegetables and fruit, and they bag it and they sell it for $15 or $25. and it's done on a weekly basis, so it's a subscription program. So as a result of that, guess how much inventory they have? 0, which is pretty good. The other one that I put for you, Adam, is an organization in Vaughan. I don't know, you guys in Toronto don't know where Vaughan is, but it's above Toronto. Human Endeavor is an interesting organization. And in Bradford, they actually have a facility where they train people on construction training. And I think their program may be somewhat similar in terms of 3 months where they learn various skills and various pieces of equipment.
Great, thank you. Adam, did you have any questions or resonances for you? Or Lisa? Or Kenneth?
Sure, they'll come up as we go.
That's fine. I don't need to put you on the spot. Just want to open it up to people. So,
well, I guess I have a question for Lisa. Have you considered the social franchise model of taking some of the things you're doing? I just learned that term the other day, social franchise. I thought it was kind of cool.
You've been dying to use it, I can tell.
Exactly. Where it could be set up in other communities across Canada.
Yeah. The short answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
Well, we can help you do that if you want.
Yeah.
Some.
You know, it's interesting in that you know, I look at the Hungry Heart right now, and the interesting discussion about social enterprises is where is the on the spectrum of social enterprises or businesses in general, how much profit is acceptable or not versus the social mission. You know, it's a really good conversation to have. So the cafe is really well supported. You know, it does excellent work. It's last time I checked, it was number 14 of over 300 restaurants in St. John's. I mean, it's a really high quality restaurant, does really well, high expectations, and it takes a lot of work. And then you add onto that participants going through learning, you know, knife skills or food safety skills, those sorts of things. And it's a lot of work to keep it going.
I was involved with a rec center that was doing a similar thing with slightly different approach. They got their funding to train people in hospitality training, and then a second group to train them to run their home catering businesses. So it was in very much a multicultural area, of which there's the odd one in the Toronto and Markham area. But what they did is they had walk-in and takeout and also delivery. So they did delivery to the buildings in their specific area.
Yeah.
And so it was, they not only got the grants, but they also got the profit from running the business.
Yeah. The Hungry Heart is, it'll be 10 years next year. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's doing really well. And so it offers catering. We do delivery. We have our in-house dining. We have theme nights once a month. So last weekend it was food from Tuscany. Next month it's Burmese food. So we do pop-up events. So we're pretty creative and innovative into ways to bring the money in. And after 9 years now, we don't receive any funding for the cafe, either private sector or government. It runs on its own. So yeah, unlike Clean Start, for example, you know, the financing, and Adam, you mentioned this, the financing is really critical. And we were very fortunate that Chevron Canada provided us with $150,000 a year for 3 years to work specifically on that can-do, clean start social enterprise component. And, you know, without that support, we wouldn't have been able to jump as far as we've been able to so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear what you're saying about, it sounds like you're very, like this is very, very busy. There's a lot going on. I hear the invitation to kind of franchise it, but that would be a whole nother level of work on top of what you're already kind of nurturing and supporting in systems.
Yeah.
Lisa, I hate to target all the questions towards you, Lisa, but I'm really curious to know, so one of the things that we're growing, like I was saying, is that temp model, right? Where we're getting very similar requests to, hey, can you do groundskeeping? We just got a big contract with Metrolinx, who are building the subways, to wash windows. I mean, we're talking about work that requires you to, show up on time and have a good attitude, but not tremendously skilled work where you need to be an apprentice, anything like that. Right. So I want to hear your take, because one of the struggles, if I was to be like open about it, is that obviously the types of folks that we're taking on come with various backgrounds and I guess to some extent some baggage with their history. And I think we're in the same boat where we want you have to deliver and we want to be able to compete with the private sector. I think our motto has been, if you're going to do this work anyway, why not go it with an enterprise that has a social cause behind it, assuming that you're getting the same deliverable. Yeah. The question is, how do you guys deal with that balance? Like we need the buy-in from the customer to be supportive of what we're trying to do here, which I guess in turn is sort of asking for a little bit of leeway. But ultimately the only way to grow is to deliver. So I just wanted to hear your take on how you guys, like what you've learned over the last 10 years with that, because it's definitely become a challenge for us.
It is a really big challenge, and I'm a bit obsessive about the TripAdvisor reviews of the Hungry Heart. And so I always kind of go between chuckling and rolling my eyes when I read a review, like somebody says, "Oh, service was quirky." Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, sometimes it's going to be pretty quirky. Yeah. But anyway, so it's really tough. A lot of our employment programs, you start off, if you're going through social enterprise training, you start off doing like life skills, the importance of being punctual, and the importance of having a good attitude. So those sorts of things are built into the program. And I think our staff, when we partner our staff with participants doing the cleaning, for example, they're very much into a teaching role. This is not like they are cleaners, but they're cleaners who are teaching others to do the same thing. And so every opportunity to have a learning moment, as they say, is a really important one. And the other thing I think I'm really big on this now. We recently worked with a professor at the Faculty of Business at Memorial University, and she called me up one day and she said, what is the social value proposition of purchasing a scone from the Hungry Heart? We're really well known for our scones. That's our big thing. So what's the social value proposition of purchasing a scone from the Hungry Heart versus a scone or a T-bun from a private sector business? And so we worked together on doing this presentation. And so what it says, and I do this presentation a lot, and I think it's really helpful to people, because what I'm finding is the world wants to make a difference now, right? So if people want to buy something that has a social impact, but we just need to make it okay for them to do it almost. So like with the social value proposition of buying a scone at the Hungry Heart, you might look at typically what you would consider our taste, cost, and convenience. Now, if you compare us to a private sector organization, we're going to do really well on taste. We're probably going to lose on cost because we're a bit more expensive. And we're probably not as convenient because we're not open 24/7. We don't have a drive-through. So those sorts of things we're losing on. But if you dig deeper and you look at things like where were the ingredients sourced? That's a big thing when you're from an island. So where do you get the ingredients? Who are you hiring? What's the production value? So are the goods made locally on site that day, or are they parboiled in Ontario and brought to Newfoundland? So we looked at so what is the social value proposition? And when you take a look at all those characteristics, we do better on those than the private sector. And so it almost says to people, it's okay if you're going to spend 15 cents more on our scone, because look at everything that you're doing. So then we looked at another way of looking at it was when she came into the Hungry Heart to purchase that scone, I could show her that one of our participants was being paid to wash the windows outside. There was a participant who was a dishwasher on that day who was washing the dishes. The server who was on, who handed her the scones, was a participant. So we went through all the impact that was going on within her 2-minute encounter at the Hungry Heart to pick up that scone. And I think getting that message out is really critical. And I think, that's my job, is to kind of go around and do those presentations to say, you know what, it's not about that saving that 15 cents. And this is tough with government, right? Because they only look at the bottom line. But having those conversations is really important. And, social enterprise is a big thing in this province now, and government is looking at a social enterprise strategy. And I've gone to meetings and they've served us, sandwiches from a private sector organization. And I've always said, you know what, there are 4 social enterprise restaurants in this city. If you're asking me about social enterprise, I expect you to buy from social enterprise. And I have to tell you, it's like a flashlight. Like people never even thought of it. But I think it's really important that we really sell the social enterprise and the social value proposition. And I think that's what speaks to people.
Oh, and presumably that goes for the cleaning, because the cleaning business is so much more, it's almost like identical to some of the stuff that we're doing. But basically part of what you're saying is they have to know what they're buying, and part of what they're buying into is the social aspect, which I think is a big, okay. I mean, which is great. I think people in Toronto are finally waking up to that. But
no, it's true. People are willing to pay for it now, I think.
I think part of the challenge that there might be, and Peter probably knows more about this than I do, but part of it, I think, is how do you contain all that information, that social value proposition, into a short and sweet marketing presence, right? Like that's the challenge, is how do you bundle that all up into a package that the person on the street can get. And I don't have the magic for how you do that, but I imagine that's part of what you're struggling with, or an exploration.
Yeah. I mean, also just primarily when your business is primarily dealing with people, it just becomes a challenge. If you look at a for-profit company and they hire somebody to do a specific task, I think it's very easy to make it cut and dry and to, unfortunately let somebody go, let's say, if they're not performing as well as they should be. And I like to think that the task that we're taking on is that we know that there is a cost to taking on folks that need extra support, or who might, take extra training. But that cost isn't so easy to put on a price tag that you're giving to a customer, unless you have some way of getting that message through, or if they feel that message is worth the price tag that you put on it. So it's just it's just as this part of our business has grown, it's just become a challenge to take on the right types of people and to make the customers happy, but also stick within our mission. And good feedback from
Valid. Yeah.
3 words: sell the benefits. That's what it's all about. Sell the benefits. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of benefits. And of course, there's the answer.
Okay, so you all have to go buy
the book and then we'll know. Yeah.
And there will be support in there for what you're working on. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you. Okay. So I don't know if there's any other comments or questions from the folk that are participating in the call today. Want to make sure you have space.
What about Kenneth? Have we heard from him? Or?
No, we haven't.
Kenneth is secretly starting a social enterprise.
Pardon?
I said Kenneth is secretly starting a social enterprise as we speak.
Maybe he is. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You know, here's a good one, the nonprofit pub.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that one?
Or
The nonprofit pub. It's run by a pastor in Illinois. And yeah, they sell beer and liquor and the whole thing. And then they have 6 containers where the profits go into 6 different charities, and the customer decides which one the profits go into.
That's interesting.
That's great. Okay, well, I'd like to kind of bring our call to a close. So I just would invite each of our guests here, if you would like to check out just by saying kind of what you're taking away from our conversation today. And I just really appreciated the breadth of the work that you're each doing and the complexity of it. And I'm just thinking about Stella's Circle, and you said you were 35 years old?
Almost 30.
Almost 30 years old. Oh, I see. I have 35 was the age of the minister. 30 years old, so I'm just thinking that it's important from my perspective. It's good to have that kind of a timeline in mind, that these things don't happen overnight in terms of the scope and the stability that Stella Circle has now. That's something that transpires through good governance and good process over 30 years, and that's, I think, important to hold in mind. Anyway, from my perspective, we're so much about instant, right? In our culture, it's hard to be able to settle in for the long haul. So that was a good takeaway for me. So thank you. Lisa and Adam and Peter, do you have any final kind of, what has been the gift of this call for you today?
Sarah, where are the recordings available again?
So I will send out an email. They're being posted somewhere in UCC, in the United Church land. I can't tell you exactly where it is. It's on their YouTube, but I'll send you the links.
That would be great.
Yeah.
For starting, it's refreshing to hear you guys have been around for 30 years. I'll tell you that much, because it feels like we've got a lot to grow to get there. But I think I think it's cool. I think there's like a big movement happening. Certainly, we feel it in Toronto, being in this sector, of people that are trying to get on the same page of social enterprise, and even if not going the nonprofit route, just try to build in social components to their businesses, which I'd never been exposed to going to like these social enterprise talks and discussions that are going on, and the amount of people that are attending these things are growing. And so for me, it's just awesome to connect to other folks that are in the same space and doing the same things and learning from them. So it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the term social enterprise will go the way of the dodo at some point, just because I think everybody will have a social mission. It might be teeny tiny, or it could be their main mission, but I really do think that as a society, we're going to start demanding certain things, whether it's environmental or social or whatever it is. So it's interesting to watch the continuum, I guess, is what I would say, the continuum of business and what that will mean in the future. Great, thank you. Peter, any last words?
Yeah, I think it's very exciting to hear about St. John, Newfoundland. The amount of effort that's going on there. I mean, in Toronto and the area, we always see us as the leaders of everything, but I'm excited by what I heard Lisa comment on, that the amount of effort that's being made there. That is very, very exciting.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for participating in the call, and it's been a pleasure. And we'll say goodbye to the participants that have also been listening in. One of the things that I'll be doing is sending out a survey, inviting your feedback about our time together. And I will do that, and I'll try to I'll make a point to follow up on the links for the videos and invite you to check out the online conversations. I'll send you the link for that too. If there are any other ones that would be of interest to your networks, please share with them. And so thank you so much. And so we can kind of wave to say goodbye, and hopefully we'll meet again. Oh, look, and there you go.
Okay, Stella circle, Stella circle.
Stella circle. I love it. We got
The wrong word. Awesome, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.